English translation. 191st contact. Friday, 3rd of February, 1984. 20:54 hours.
Really, it gives me great pleasure to see you once again. Be welcome in my humble abode.
Be greeted, dear friend. I am also delighted to see you again. It has been so long since the last time we talked with one another. But today, I did not want to neglect to visit you briefly, as we have always done on this day. It is just that today, unfortunately, you are clouded in your joy because your youngest brother has now been buried.
That's true, unfortunately. But on the other hand, this fatal accident may also have its good side. When I consider that my brother only had terrible pain, and that it would have been much worse for him if his parents had died before him, which will now also soon be the case. But you know, on the other hand, the anniversaries of my birthday have been unpleasant from the beginning because all too often at this time, or a few days before or after, things have happened that were very sad or otherwise malicious or harmful. Furthermore, I also had an appropriate dream about 10 days ago, and although initially it was a little unclear to me, I still became aware early enough of what I should expect to hear when I went to the telephone in order to receive the message of the death of my brother.
Sure, but I find the kind and wise to be very awful as to how your brother was separated from life.
That is also what burdens and occupies me, and I wonder why such young fellows are allowed to drive a car when they race as vicious thugs and killers over the streets.
You think like we do, because we also cannot understand these things.
It is not to be understood, but we should not continue to talk about it because everything is now an established fact, which can no longer be changed.
Sure, I still have a question for you, which is how do you feel? Through Quetzal and Taljda, I know of your accident, which took place in November of 1982. But how you made it, that you woke up again after that nasty fall, got up, and continued on, it speaks against all logic after our discretion. Quetzal also explained to me that you suffered various mutilations in the cerebellum and in the inner lobes, and also the consequent pains and other ills.
Yes, that is true, and how I managed to wake up and get up again, I do not know. I am only aware of the fact that I was half unconscious for more than 1.5 months at the beginning, and was tossed about by dizzy spells and long-term vertigo, like a ship in a wind force of 12. Also, my memory and all my concentration were gone, so I had to try very damn hard during all the time since then to rebuild everything that is of importance. 2 or 3 months ago, I even discovered that I can now keep my wrecked brain on track and can educate it as I rage war with a computer in a game of chess. At first, only the computer arose as victor from every match, but now, I have progressed so far that the computer loses practically every game.
As usual, you simply will not let yourself go, but rather strive with all of your available strength. That may also be the reason why you are still alive after your fall.
It may be, but something else probably came into play, like what we call here on Earth luck or good fortune.
A little of that would have been present here. But now listen. Starting from today, it should be that you write the reports of our conversations again when we transmit them to you. Are you in a position to do so?
It should be possible, but concerning this, I'm also happy when we have something in writing again. There have been so many conversations in the meantime, but almost no word has been written of these.
Sure, unfortunately, that is true, for as I was guided by Quetzal, there have been 34 contacts that were not written down, and this only since the middle of the year 1983. In addition, there were 116 other contacts since our first meeting, which were also not held in writing.
A right amount?
Sure, but now to something else. Your work with the OM writing is going very well, and of course, as usual, faster than we had planned, in reference to the monthly amount of work. You should work a little more slowly because the strains are yet very large. But my father and we are all very satisfied with everything relating to this, and I especially have to express to you the thanks of my father and his hope that every single one of the group members will do the work entrusted to them to the full extent and to the satisfaction of all. What is addressed by this is that work which is necessary for the interpretations of every single group member and which is to be equally fulfilled by them. These interpretations must be made verse for verse and be rewritten in the now customary and understandable German language, so that never again can falsifications and variations come into being. But this can actually only be prevented by such interpretations, which should not be understood, however, by those who, so far, have not yet understood the full significance of our mission, thus also not the value of the mission. In our opinion, such might no longer be the case among the group members, nevertheless, because so much has happened that every individual must have become perfectly clear about everything.
I hope that everything will work out and that no more exceptions will appear.
We may certainly expect that after all these years and after everything. Failures and offenses would actually only amount to treason, no matter what kind they would be. And now, in reference to exceptions, you must also finally ensure that no more are made, for now the time begins when any exception has the most serious consequences, which can even cause the destruction of the entire mission. From now on, all tasks and works must be fulfilled according to the best ability and capacity. Also, the times of the night watches and other types of services must be started and be finished on time. Thus also the times and frequencies of the initiation and the meditation. Through the High Council, we have gotten to know and have received the advice to inform you that in the future, all core group members, starting from the month of April of this year, have to appear in the center, namely for 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays apiece. This becomes necessary because attempts in a meditative form by the entire group strength must be made to change some very dangerous unvalues in the earthly international situation. Otherwise, dangerous changes will occur, which will lead to greater destruction than what the Earth and the Earth humans would be able to bear. Furthermore, you must start calling in your circle of friends, so that as many people as possible participate in this undertaking, but in their own places of residence, for each strength is of utmost necessity. I will give you more exact details in this connection in the near future. In addition, the whole thing is also necessary for the group members, because already for about 2 years, forces became effective in some group members, through which they remove themselves from the mission, but these are associated with the same forces that all of you must be concerned with on a grand scale, and you are also necessary for this. One of our recent analyses has also confirmed to us the fact that some group members remove themselves more and more from the mission, because through attitude changes that are incomprehensible to us, they are suddenly no longer able to recognize the responsibility that they must bear, so they also do not see the truth of the mission anymore.
But that was already so since time immemorial, that such phases appeared over and over again.
Sure, but the success of this has always been that all fallible ones and countless innocent people had to pay for this, and were murdered in the most varied ways. But the members of the current core group should now be beyond this and should know their responsibility. And it should otherwise be clear to all of them that for a long time they make themselves indebted to everyone who is grieved, owed to their failure or their breach of duty. All of them have received the same obligation with their consent and can no longer set this aside, even if they first received this obligation in this life and not already in the life before, as this is the case with several of them. But if imponderable faults appear, then it will be very bad for the fallible ones, whereby this is entirely foreseen in the process that results in treason, as it will be the case with Thomas.
I may not actually grant it to him.
He has to attribute the consequences to himself, and these already begin for him. Unfortunately, He himself is not yet aware of the horror of all things. But this might be the reason why he only once had very loose contact with the group members in a past life, and also why, at the present time, he could not create a real connection or bond.
That is well known to me, but concerning the current mission, the group only had its beginning around 2,000 years ago, even though everyone actually belonged to the same clique originally. But all of today's Earth humans, who were previously involved in the machinations of primeval times, are culpable for all evil.
Sure, but just because of this, all Earth humans should concern themselves more over the fact that they fulfill their duties in full, and that at other times, they do not cause the same or similar disasters by the fact that they breach their duties.
They just do not know that.
You have given no clarification about this?
No, for I thought it was better like this. On the other hand, how should I enlighten all Earth humans?
Maybe it was actually so, but now everything comes to language for those across the Earth in the OM writing, so you should create awareness.
Actually, you could do that, for then they can read about everything in the contact report. Also, it would be easier for you than for me with my head.
Sure, I can do this favor for you. Thus, I direct my words to all Earth humans in this way. The origin of the beginning of sorrow and all evils on the earth is described in the OM writing by the prophet Enoch, in which he speaks of Semjasa and his followers, who, at that time, went with him among the Earth humans and caused disaster. Semjasa and some others originated from a planet in the Lyra system, but others were natives of other worlds that are listed as Nakar planets in the old registers, and which belonged to a remote system with the name Usol, and which were completely destroyed by acts of war shortly after the flight away. The planet in the Lyra system was named Nagal, and the other worlds, Dejma, Sinas, and Tiarjebol. Semjasa was the supreme leader of all, and Asasel was first secretly and then openly his adversary. Through the incidents, as they are described in the Book of Enoch, they brought all evils to the earth in their beginning, whereby the first two nuclear wars were released on Earth, as Semjasa and Asasel mutually annihilated themselves and their people. After their rebirth, they were taken away by their former brothers and sisters on Earth. So in the course of time, they converted to the truth again and committed themselves to work on the earth in the future, according to the strictest performance of duty, for so long until all damage and all errors were removed again, which they had caused in their incomprehensibility at the beginning of their time on earth. Throughout many lives, they slowly prepared for this task, which they then took over for the first time approximately 14,000 years ago, so at least some of them, while the rest of them were not yet ready. But in order to be able to change everything, it was also necessary that everyone would change themselves into the thinking of the Earth humans, and thus forget their entire past, which has fully happened in the meantime. A memory of this would not have been useful, because as a result of any knowledge of the spectacular past, one might be inclined to take measures that would provoke renewed catastrophes. Therefore, the advantage of the memory that they all possessed slowly had to sink into ignorance. Many of today's Earth humans, in the early days of the beginning of evils on the Earth, belonged to the group of Semjasa, who was their supreme leader, as was already explained. The fact of today's group members, and of those who were culpable at that time, in reference to the same spirit form, is 1. Asasel, the obstinate; 2. Batrala, she who loves the muses; 3. Tamela, guardian of honor; 4. Semjasa, Aus, the demigod; 5. Barakala, the one who looses shyness; 6. Satana, the lovely; 7. Asaela, Tone the eye; pliant; 8. Armira, the cozy; 9. Urakibaramil, the strong leader; 10. Ramuela, one who is not, self-adorning, 11. Lunira, one who shines in the light, 12. Arjsa, the builder, 13. Turalan, the miraculous, 14. Tamiela, the exalted, 15. Arajal, the lovingly gentle, 16. Uralan, quick, one like a suit of armor, 17. Largsa, one who looks after the stars, 18. Jomael, the flower lover, 19. Ubrala, the carefree, 20. Samsafil, the loyal companion.
Thanks, it was easier like that. But it is still to be said now that in this life, some of our group members belong to the group for the first time. But in former times, others were already here, in firmer or very loose forms, as other personalities.
That is correct. And it should also be taken into account that there are others living on the earth at this time who belong to this original group, but who have departed from your group or have not yet joined you. In addition, this is the first time since the beginning of the great evil that in the present life until now, still no member has degenerated or received harm in such a manner that one has met a forcible death or has loaded death guilt upon himself. Which can still happen, however, with one or others who are already strangers to today's group again.
That, then, is not our thing, and we can really do nothing about it.
That meets the facts. But now, I do not want to trouble you any longer, because for the first time, I do not want to overload you already. So I just want to give you and the group members all the dear greetings that were laid upon me by my father, by Playa, my sister, but also from the entire spirit leadership of Era, then also from Taljda and Quetzal, who are currently on Era, and from all others. Everyone gives you their feelings of love and hope that no more grievances will cloud our two-sided relationship.
Many dear thanks are also returned.
Then until we meet again, and see you soon.
Take care, girl. Bye.
Data about Simyase.
With the date of the 28th of January 1986, the planned 11-year period for the ongoing contacts with Simyase had expired. But this only means that no other contact reports between Billy and Simyase will be published for the group and for the general public, and that no other questions can be placed by these to the Playaran, etc., while the contacts between the Playaran and Billy would continue to exist, nevertheless, and it was not planned to conclude these. Thus, many more contacts between Billy and Tar, Quetzal, Taljda, Manara, as well as Playa, etc., have taken place since then, but the contact reports have not been officially published up to the new millennium. Simyase spent the time from February of 1965 to June of 1973 with Asket's people in the Daal universe, without any contact with our universe. After her return to Era from the Daal universe in June of 1973, she came to the Earth in July of 1973 and resumed her task, which she had already taken up here earlier. After that, the first contact with Billy took place on the 28th of January, 1975. Out of all earthly languages, Simyase only mastered the German language, and also learned no others during her stay on Earth up to November of 1984. Her field of work was restricted to the European territory, and she had no authority to interfere with any concerns or to take up contacts in the areas of the two other existing Playaran groups working on the Earth, so in Asia and America. On the 15th of December 1977, Simyase had a life-threatening accident at the center, after which she was taken to Era for medical treatment and for recovery, and then came back to the Earth again on the 20th of May 1978 in the 107th contact. She had ongoing contacts with Billy until their 144th contact on the 26th of March, 1981. From the end of March of 1981, Simya-sai was absent from the Earth until January of 1984 as a result of other tasks. 3rd February 1984, 191st contact, last contact of Simya-sai with Billy. In early November of 1984, Simya-sai suffered a brain collapse as an after-effect of the accident on the 15th of December, 1977. She was immediately taken to Asket's people in the Dal universe, where she became healthy again through the assistance of her and her friends, Sona, Sonaya. The complete regeneration of the brain and all consciousness pores, abilities and memories, etc., which were lost as a result of the collapse, will likely take up a period of 70 years, as Petai explained, and during that time, Simya-sai remains in the Dal universe. According to the contact report of the 30th of March 1984, the core group of 49 performs the peace meditation in the Simya-sai Silver Star Center. Meanwhile, also other Figu groups abroad, as well as many friends of Figu all over the world and 500 million people of the Pleiadians, participate in the peace meditation on every first and third Saturday of every month at 18, 30 hours CET and 20 Igiharwa hours CET Standard Time, and on each following Sunday at 20 AMI hours CET Standard Time, in order to acquire peace on Earth. Out of all three Pleiadian groups, Europe, Asia, America, on Earth, only one person was named Simya-sai, namely the Simya-sai of the European group, who took up contact with Billy. Apart from Billy, she never had contacts with other Earth humans on all continents except a chance encounter in the Persian desert in the vicinity of Zahedin with a young German woman named Elsa Schroeder, which only lasted for a few minutes, and this will remain so in the future.
Presented by Florina on 22nd January 2004.